My name is Cassie and I'm the founder of Fatco, where we use these guys to make this stuff. Let me explain. At Fatco, we specialize in making natural and organic skin and body care products, many of which contain tallow. It's nutrient dense and healing. It's extremely high in vitamins A, D, K, and E, all super important for skin health. It's natural, it's healthy, and it's sustainable.
That people are saying, oh yeah, when you're finals MVP, you are now the best player on the planet. To me, that makes no sense whatsoever. I don't care if it's a week, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Who do we appreciate? LeBron James. That's who y'all gotta start appreciating. And you gotta stop disrespecting this man. One day the disrespect will stop. But until that day, I'll be singing his high praises. No matter where I shall be. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Prideful Takes podcast. As always, it is your boy Pride. Got a packed episode in store for you guys today. Marlon Vera takes a win, decides to knock Dominic Cruz's style. I'm going to explain to you why he's a idiot for doing that. Every divisional leader in baseball is not made the same. Remember that. I will go through each divisional leader. I will tell you who I have faith in and who are just placeholders. And also, dummy of the day. I got one, and it's going to get vile. But before all of that, in the intro, y'all hear about GOAT James. Matter of fact, I don't call him GOAT James because when you're the greatest player of all time, they call you something else. LeBron. He signed a 2-year max contract or max extension to remain with the Lakers, has a player option for the 2024-25 season. So now the question is posed, what should be the expectations for both LA and LeBron James? So before I talk about LeBron, let's talk about the overall Lakers. On the same day that their entire season was the season schedule was dropped. That's when LeBron decided to re-sign. And I said, didn't all the division leaders lose yesterday? I think so. I'm like 100% positive they all did. No, not all of them. Because I think the Cardinals ended up beating the Rockies. Yeah, so. But I know the Yankees had lost, the Dodgers had lost, the Mets had lost. I can't remember whether or not Houston had lost, but I know there was a couple. There were some losers, but no, not all of them did. It would have been crazy if all of them did though. But for the Lakers, they dropped the Lakers schedule. Now. Their schedule is kind of funny. It's very entertaining. So far, it's going to be. They're going to open up the worst part of it. They're opening up against the Warriors. So, LOL. After that, and by the way, I'm starting regular season. I'm not talking about preseason because who cares? So these are their first 10 games. Golden State, Clippers, Portland, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Nuggets again, Pelicans, Jazz, Cavs. I believe that's 10. They're obviously going to get smacked against Golden State, right? And with how this roster is presently constructed, they're probably going to end up losing. And their first 7, I can honestly imagine this team going 0-7. For me, the only team that's a maybe that they could potentially get is Portland. That's it. Minnesota, and I'm not that high on Minnesota at all. I think Minnesota has a legitimate chance of beating the Lakers. The Nuggets, I think, will clear the Lakers because you're having a Michael Porter Jr. who you're seeing him kind of start playing more defense. And he looks good. He looks good. So he's starting to look good. You got a Jamal Murray coming back as well. Obviously, Jokic, the deserving MVP. I don't care what anybody says. Clippers, you're going to have Kawhi Leonard coming back. I mean, it's going to be yet another rough season for them. Now, what to expect from LeBron James? I expect another MVP caliber season. And I believe LeBron James is going to end up breaking or passing Kareem. There are some, depending on their games, they actually broke it down that if LeBron averages, if I'm mistaken, for him to beat it against the Boston Celtics, he would have to average 27 points per game for him to end up passing Kareem against Boston. I think the Clippers is a little after that, so I think it was like 26 about 26, 25 points per game. But there's a thing. I mean, obviously, LeBron James is winning MVP. I'm sorry, one more time. I think LeBron James is winning MVP. I would not be surprised if he goes out there and averages 30 again. I would not be surprised. But not only will LeBron James end up passing Kareem, he's going to end up 100%, in my opinion, winning an MVP. It's going to be for naught because if you see what else he has to deal with around there, he doesn't really, God knows, you got Russell Westbrook for year 2. Whoop-de-doo. AD can't stay healthy, right? And then if you look at this roster, sure, it's an okay roster, but okay isn't going to do anything for you. So, good luck, LA. You're going to need it. You're going to need all the luck in the world. I mean, as a Boston fan, take care of LeBron. Because after LeBron leaves, bro, I'm going to go back to wishing nothing but the worst when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers. Marlon Vera needs to go home. This past weekend, in UFC Fight Night, it was headlined by Marlon Vera and Dominic Cruz. Marlon Vera ended up knocking out Dominic Cruz in the fourth round. Ended up knocking him out in the post-fight conference. He ended up saying some interesting things. Was knocking Dominic Cruz, saying how supposedly his style is it's an out-of-date style. You can't win with that style. Things along those lines. In essence, and it's kind of funny because if you watch the fight, Dominic Cruz was dominating Marlon Vera and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. I think Marlon Vera had 3 knockdowns, but the sad part about it is for every knockdown he had, Dominic Cruz immediately got up. He was outstruck the entire fight. Let's just call it what it is. Every part of the fight, he was outstruck. So for him to say that is kind of funny. But there was also something that he kind of initiated, if that makes sense. And a lot of people has been taking this stand. So obviously Marlon Vera, he basically started saying, oh, this outdated style. Look, by the way, I see you. Yuki says thoughts on the Celtics schedule. I will touch on that in a moment. But he says that his style, his outdated style, only works against guys who aren't that good. Basically attempting to discredit everything he did. Everything he did. So we're going to pretend Uriah Faber is trash. Are we going to pretend that? He beat Demetrius Johnson. We're not allowed to talk about that? And the funny part about it is Marlon Vera, for him to come out and say all this stuff, take a look at who he's last fought. he and in my opinion, this is in my opinion absolutely hilarious. These are some of the guys he fought. I'm gonna go back to 2020. He beat Sean O'Malley, which in my opinion, not a lot of people really have that much faith in him. Lost to Jose Aldo. Okay. He ended up beating on a fight night against Korean Zombie and Dan Ige. He beat Davey Grant, who was unranked. He then beats an old Frankie Edgar. He beats a Rob Font who lost all his luster because Rob Font was on a 2-fight losing streak heading into it. And then you got a nice knockout after you were getting dominated by Dominic Cruz. If you look at this, congratulations. If you're going to knock Dominic Cruz's, like, his record stuff, look who you're fighting. Look who you're beating. You're beating an old Frankie Edgar. You're beating an unranked guy, and you're ranked. You're ranked. You're beating an unranked guy, and I'm supposed to bend over for you? What am I supposed to do with that? He then goes on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. And this is by far the dumbest thing I've ever heard anyone say. So he starts off by saying this. I respect 1,000 respect him for what he did, and him referring to Dominic Cruz. I said this in the press conference. He made bantamweight cool. He was the name that brought up the bantamweights. When he was a champion and was fighting other people, he was fighting all right guys. He was a cool guy making a name for the division, but I think the reason there's a gap between 125 and 135 in terms of names, because he was a WEC champion, came to the UFC and got the belt. Even when he was injured over the years, no one forgot about it. He comes back against Takaya and was phenomenal. Then he broke something. Comes back, beats Dillashaw. That's amazing, but I can't bring out any emotions or respect once we're fighting. This moron literally just contradicted himself. This low IQ idiot contradicted himself. Because, oh yeah, you didn't do anything. Like, let this sink in. You didn't, like, according to, like again, in the same passage, he fought all right guys, right? And then he's trying to say he was in the WEC and basically came over to the UFC and immediately got the belt. Well, no shit. You're an idiot, Marlon Vera, because back then, the UFC didn't have this lower weight class. So when they bought the WEC, which was a lot of the lower weight classes that you see now, they were like, we don't have any of this. So they just moved it over. It's the same thing with what they did with Ronda Rousey. It's the same thing. They didn't have the weight class, so they just gave it away. Only difference is on the final night when it was Uriah Faber versus Dominic Cruz. It was said, this is going to be the final, this fight, whoever wins this, is the final WEC champion and will be the first ever UFC bantamweight. So it's like, you don't even know what you're talking about. But again, then he goes and say, you fought all right people. And then he sucks him for what he did against Takaya. He calls that phenomenal. Then he comes back and beats Dillashaw, and he calls that amazing. So you just named two guys, and that's dumb. He then goes, he wants to clarify what he said about very low level. Quote, I'm going to explain a little bit when I say the low level thing. Talking about fighting technique, it doesn't matter what your style is. We've got a guy like Israel Adesanya. He's very flashy. He's very technical, but has a real solid base. His technique is sharp as fuck, and he's really flashy. With Dominic, the movement that he does, me and my coaches, we think that's a low-level style to do MMA. It's our opinion. It's not a fact, but maybe we prove it of the way that we finished him. But I wasn't talking shit like he sucks. I don't think he sucks. It's the movements we don't think work for MMA because there's kick, elbows, knees. There's so much more you can run into. Yeah, you make a little trick, sure, but he's not having a good base. Again, to say basically what he's saying, elusiveness is a bad thing to have. I'm gonna say it one more time. And this horrible style, this bad bass, all this garbage that he's spewing out. Ready to hear the absolute kicker of the entire situation? He was losing to a bad style. Let me say that one more time. He was losing to a bad style. A bad style. You got to do better. You got to do better. I'm not even trying to be rude or anything, but like when someone says stupid stuff like that with a straight face and then contradicts himself constantly, again, I'm gonna say it again. He fought all right, and again, this is in the same paragraph he's talking about. He's fought all right guys, and then is sucking his performance against Sakaya and TJ Dillashaw. Trying to like the WC was filled with bums. But you ready to hear the funny part that he don't want to mention? Because he goes, oh, he fought all right guys. The guy that you lost to earlier, Jose Aldo, was in the WEC. But you don't want to talk about that. He don't want to talk about that. He don't want to talk about that. He don't want to talk about that. Lucas has thoughts on the Celtics schedule. Honestly, I'm not mad. Not mad at all. In the month, because we start what, October 18th, I think is the first game. Yeah. Yeah, so we play opening night, right? We play Philly in the month of October. We play Philly, Miami, Orlando, Chicago, Cleveland, and Washington. That doesn't faze me at all. In November, Cleveland, Chicago, New York, Memphis, Detroit, Denver, Detroit, OKC, Atlanta, New Orleans, Chicago, Dallas, Sacramento, Washington, Charlotte, Miami. Which starts rough, kind of, except for the New York and Detroit. OKC would be, I don't care what anyone says, OKC is going to be tough. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not going to go out and say that they're world stopper, but I would be, don't take them lightly. December is where it's going to be kind of rough. We start with Miami. Then we got Brooklyn, Toronto, which I think Toronto is going to be a good team. Then we got Phoenix. Then we got Golden State. Then we got the Clippers, the Lakers, Orlando, Indy, Minnesota, Milwaukee, Houston, and the Clippers. So outside of a few games, a lot of them are going to be rough, especially the Clippers, because we're going to have a West Coast trip. Phoenix, Golden State, Clippers, and Lakers, all those are on the road. January, it's going to be Denver, OKC. By the way, I'm saying the teams in the actual order. Denver, OKC, Dallas, San Antonio, Chicago, New Orleans, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Golden State, Toronto, Orlando, Miami, New York, and Lakers. I think it's a solid that's a solid month. Not too hard. The hardest team we'll probably face is going to be obviously Golden State. But after that, I think Denver, we can beat. Chicago, I have no fear in them. Brooklyn, I'm all right with. And then we got the low-tier teams like the San Antonio Spurs, the Charlottes, the Orlandos. February, it's going to be Brooklyn, Phoenix, Detroit, Philly, Charlotte, Memphis, Milwaukee, Detroit. Then after that, it's going to be Indy, Philly, and New York, which, again, solid month. Sure, we got two tough teams in Brooklyn and, well, I don't know about Brooklyn, but in terms of Phoenix and Memphis, and also Milwaukee. But then again, we also have bottom feeders that we're going to end up playing, like New York, Detroit, and Charlotte. Then we got March, Cleveland, Brooklyn, New York, Cleveland, Portland, Atlanta, Houston, Minnesota, Portland, Utah, Sacramento, Indiana, San Antonio, Washington, Milwaukee, and then the Jazz. I think this is honestly one of our easier months, the month of March. I think that's going to be one of our easier months. We played Brooklyn one time and Milwaukee. Outside of that, there's really no other team that I'm concerned about. Minnesota, I don't think Minnesota can beat us. Utah's doing a full-blown rebuild. Indy's going through a full-blown rebuild. Washington don't even know what they're really doing. Sacramento is Sacramento. San Antonio is going through a rebuild. So I think March is going to be our easiest month. And then in April, Philly, Toronto, Atlanta. I think those will be solid. So in terms of our schedule, some solid stuff. But like I said, I believe December will be our hardest month. And then if I had to pick one, I'd say I would go with March being the easiest. Anybody says, didn't John Jones come back to UFC or stuff? He was supposed to come back. He was supposed to come back in heavyweight. I don't know what the hell he's doing. God knows, man. Gonzo says, I'm ready for UFC 278. I am so ready for that, bro. And it's weird because Usman and Leon Edwards aren't getting the hype that I thought they would, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Clan tag Oz name Ziploc. If you're listening, Ziploc, to quote Frankie, you can't even weigh. What a time to be alive. AP says, why they stopped that UFC reality TV show? Well, the thing is, I think the word you're talking about is the Ultimate Fighter. Basically, the Ultimate Fighter is just there to kind of bring up new stuff. But also, it's really there for the coaches. It's over, right? Because the two coaches who were fighting was Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes, right? It was the rematch. They already had that. And then on the fight night, all the winners of, like the final matchups from the Ultimate Fighter kicked off. So it's a season thing, right? So they end up stopping, and then eventually they'll throw someone out, right? If John Jones comes back, they'll probably do John Jones, Francis Ngannou, and they'll be like, oh yeah, let's do that, So, but yeah, it's just a seasonal thing. As long as you're talking about the Ultimate Fighter. Yuki says your secondary is going down the drain. We're not talking about that right now, man. It is horrible. Malcolm Butler couldn't even. I mean, it was supposed to be. Oh yeah, he's gonna be all nice. Bo's okay to stay healthy. Why did we bring him back, Dana? Why did we bring him back? MLB. We're gonna chit chat a little bit about some of the division leaders and who do I think is legit and who do I think is just a sad sack of shit. Frankie says, guess what I'm doing? I can tell, Frankie. I can tell what you are doing, brother. Hanging out with Aaron Hernandez. What a time to be alive. So we're going to start in the American League. The Yankees. I've said this to Frankie multiple times because he's the resident Yankees fan. And I genuinely believe it. The New York Yankees will find a way to win over 100 games. Will win the division and somehow still lose the wild card. And by the way, Yuki said, I just heard the Reds player due to surgery. Yes, it was Joey Votto. Yep. Good old Joey Votto, the 97-year-old grandpa. What a time to be alive. He ended up having a surgery. I believe it was like a torn rotator cuff. It was something that had to do with his shoulder. So he's out for the year. But I honestly, in my opinion, I don't trust the Yankees. And the reason why I don't is this happens. It's been like this the last few years. Every single time after the All-Star break, it's the injuries. It's the lack of poor play. It's Aaron Boone doing the Aaron Boone stuff where he's just standing there looking like a poor man's Jason Garrett. It's the pitchers can't find location. It's all of a sudden the guys that you expected to step up haven't stepped up. And it's been a thing. Honestly, it's been a thing since that old nucleus of, led by Derek Jeter, Mark Teixeira, Jorge Posada. When all of them left and you kind of had to hand it over to the young guys, they don't know what to do with it. Like, you can, there's no leadership there, right? Like, they're kind of solely relying on talent, and sure, that can win you games. Oh, by the way, Yuki says, "Oh, look, I mean nucleus." I'm sorry if I misspoke, dickhead. But when the old nucleus left, and you kind of had to hand it over to the next generation, unfortunately, they didn't really know what to do, right? Which is the reality of it, right? Like, if you look at any other team, you know what I mean. And Frankie makes a good point. They take the Bronx Bombers. They take that name uber serious. They take that way too serious, because now what you're seeing now is what happened last year. Now they're starting to rely too much on we got to hit home runs and win. Home runs are cute. They really are. And sure, they help you win. They don't help you win if you're only hitting solo homers. That doesn't help you, because when you're playing a team and they got 3 runs and you hit a homer, that's great. But it's a solo shot. You're still down by 2. And now the next guy up has to hit that. And then you got guys like Gleyber Torres, who everyone was like, yo, we got to trade him. Like last year, we got to trade him. Yeah, I gave the benefit of the doubt. And now he's starting to hit a slump. So honestly, and again, I might be a little biased, but in terms of actual legitimate contenders, and I've said this from the beginning, I've never taken the Yankee series at all. I never did. You know what I mean? Frankie says we beat the Red Sox because we did something they didn't expect, bunts. I mean, look, the problem is right now, every time the Yankees face any type of adversity, they fall back into their old habits. And what I mean by that is they end up being like, all right, we're down. We now got to go do what we do. We have Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. Those two should be, home run hitters, right? Now you guys are relying on Josh Donaldson to do it. And Josh Donaldson is not really a guy who, his baseball IQ is not that good. It's just not that good, right? So he'll fall into the trap of, homers. Frank said, I'm just saying that's how you win, get runners on and find ways to get them home. But sacrificing hit, like, come on, they forgot to play baseball. And honestly, no, but the thing is, Frankie, they didn't forget to play baseball. They're just playing their baseball, like you said earlier, and this is really what it comes down to. That whole Bronx Bombers, they really did. Not only did they take that to heart, but now they're trying to always be that. So it's almost as if when they win, they want to win because they're hitting home runs. They don't want to win because, well, let's go get some good hits. Let's be smart. Let's be, kind of like what you're saying. Let's work some bunts, right? If you're struggling, for example, for me, if you're struggling, I'm not going to pull you out. You know what I'm going to do? All right. Let's lay down a bunt. Give me a solid bunt, right? We got guys on base. You're struggling. Give me a bunt. And let's see what, and if it's okay if you're not making it to first base because you're bunting, you got runners in scoring position. But the problem is that option is very rarely available because everyone is swinging for the fences. Andrew Benintendi says he's got theirs trying to swing for the fences. When has Andrew Benintendi ever been known as a home run threat? Never. Now he's trying to do that. When Anthony Rizzo, who when the Yankees had gotten him, it was like, Anthony Rizzo is the type of dude, he likes contact, right? If he can get that, if he can get the homer, we win it. Now guess what? Dude's batting under 220. Why? Because he's trying to swing for the fences. I don't know what it is, but all the guys that we looked at that we look at as, They got good plate discipline. They get to New York and it just vanishes. It vanishes. It's like completely and utterly gone. Like DJ LeMahieu was supposed to be this world-saving guy. He's batting a solid 279, sure. But 279 for everything that he was built for the Yankees, that's not enough. At least he's worried about contact, so yeah, you can't really come at him too hard. But it's going to be the same old thing. As soon as they get to the playoffs, they're going to rely too much on the whole Bronx Bombers thing. And honestly, it sounds cool, right? Listen, when people have that cool nickname for a team, it's cool, right? But sometimes when you overly rely on it and you basically try to become the nickname, that's a problem. Just because they call you the Bronx Bombers doesn't mean you got to try to hit. Like, pump the brakes. I understand you want to break, Barry Bonds' home run record. That's fine, but at what expense are we talking about here? What expense are we talking about? Frank says Donaldson is playing ass. Hicks forgot how to play baseball. Both sides of the ball. Torres is swinging at everything. It's seriously pissing me off. You heard the tone of my voice earlier talking about them. No, it was you were upset, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I really don't. And then refer to the Bronx Bomber. It's cool, but it's annoying. Again, it's a cool. It really is. It's a cool nickname, right? Especially when you throw it the BX. It's cool. It really is. But the problem is, like you said earlier, they're trying to play up to it. And now you got contact hitters swinging for the fences. If I told you Anthony Rizzo would be batting under 220, you would call me a damn fool. You would say I'm lying. But he is. And you see it. You see it when he's at the plate. He's chopping at it. He wants it. And that's the bad part, bro. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. So for me, this is going to be controversial to some people. I'm calling them pretenders. It's just the same thing. And these are just if these are the guys hitting in your 8-9 spot that are struggling, that's fine. But you got guys that's supposed to be your thing. This basically outside of Aaron Judge, the Yankees are falling apart. Outside of Aaron Judge. At this point, Aaron Judge is the only person you can look at and go, you all right. You good. You good. That's it. Outside of Aaron Judge now, and Frankie, if I'm wrong, come at me in the comments, bro. Let me know. But outside of Aaron Judge, I don't think anybody is safe. That's just me. And I'm including Aaron Boone in here too. I'm including Aaron Boone. Because it's been more magnified ever since he took over as the manager. The second half of the year, it's always a catastrophic situation. And then when you guys end up going to the playoffs, it's a whole debacle. It's a whole debacle. It really is. Right? Tonight they play the Rays. Right? They're on a 3-game losing streak. They play the Rays. Then they got a 4-game stand against the Blue Jays, and then after that they play the Mets twice. It's gonna be something very critical. It's gonna be very critical for the Yankees to get it together. Because if you lose, if you end up getting swept by the Rays, but bounce back to get it together against Toronto, that's cool. That's one thing. However, if they can't, it's fine. It's going to be time to finally move on from Aaron Boone. It's going to be a whole thing. Because Yankees fans are like Lakers fans, right? It's like, cool, yeah, we you're giving us wins in the regular season. Now convert that into a championship. That's just how the Yankees have always been, right? It's good. You're winning 100, 105, 110 games regular season. Cute, it's adorable. Now, can we convert that into some hardware? If you can't convert it into some hardware, and they're not going to move on from Giancarlo Stanton, you're not going to move on from Aaron Judge, right? The other guys you'll be willing to move on aren't really moving the market like that. There's one guy you're going to have to look at, and it's Aaron Boone. It's Aaron Boone. Because you made the moves. You made the moves. Especially the one with Anthony Rizzo. You went and got Anthony Rizzo, and all of a sudden, now he's changing what he is. It's a problem. And the Central, the Cleveland Guardians, without a shadow of a doubt, look, this is a solid team. I do like this team. I really do like them. I do enjoy them. You know what I mean? Shane Bieber, I wouldn't necessarily say he's a Cy Young candidate, but he's still pitching very well. However, with all and again, Carlos Correa, I love me some Carlos Correa, right? This team has been able to, gel and be great. Oh no, hold on, no, I said Carlos Correa. I'm not Carlos Correa. I'm sorry. Don't listen to me. I'm talking about Rosario. Why did I say Carlos Correa? I'm dumb. But I'm talking about Rosario. I do like him. He plays short. I do like him a lot, right? Yuki says, how the fuck are the Cleveland's leading division have to change their whole name? Well, I mean, listen, Cleveland is a solid team. They really are. But notice what I said. Solid. Right? If you really look at their division, this is the division where it's them. Minnesota is kind of nipping at their heels, only a half game back. Then after that, it's Chicago, the White Sox, which, again, nipping at the heels. After that, it's Kansas City and Detroit, which kind of fell off. In my opinion, not a single team from the Central has a legitimate chance. That's just me. Now, in terms of being contender, they are the definition of pretender, right? They're basically just there only because you need someone from the AL to win so you can send them to the playoffs. That's really it, right? Again, I like Cleveland. I really do. But like I said, the Cleveland Guardians, I don't think, in my opinion, it's for me, the pitching sometimes can get a little inconsistent. They've hit some rough patches here and there because of their pitching kind of selling them a little bit. Minnesota, I do like Minnesota, but again, I don't, they just lost one of their starting pitchers, so that's gonna be a problem. And for me, if I look at this roster top to bottom, again, I like them, but in my opinion, there's nothing really to love. So I without a shadow of a doubt, I gotta call them pretenders. AL West, the Houston Astros, begrudgingly, I have to call them legit. Justin Verlander is having an AL Cy Young type of year. Like, this dude is just utterly phenomenal. Framber Valdez is starting to get it together, right? So now he's starting to kind of fit his role, right? So now he's starting to kind of be like, all right, I'm good, I'm solid. 11-4 with a 2.73 ERA, right? So that, again, you got, and so his Justin Verlander 15-3 with a 1.95 ERA. Framber Valdez 11-4 with a 2.73 ERA. So that's heck of a 1-2, right? Luis Garcia, I like him. My only thing is he can sometimes be a little inconsistent. When he's on, but when he's not, it's a problem. You still got Jose Urquidy, 11-4, 3.69 ERA, solid, right? I'm liking. They got solid pitching, very respectable bullpen, right? Jose Altuve having a solid year, solid. They just got the trade to go get Trey Mancini, so they're bolstering themselves up, and they also got Christian Vasquez. So if Martin Maldonado needs a date night off or something like that, you still got a respectable catcher that you can, throw out there. Gurriel and Bregman both being respectable. And again, I think top to bottom, this is a very, very, very good team. Extremely good. And I like them. I like them a lot. Can we compare the Astros to the Patriots? No one can ever be compared to the Patriots. No one is ever that good. So let me just get that out the way. In terms of the NL, the New York Mets, and the NL East, I'm going to call the New York Mets, I'm going to call them contenders. And here's why. When the New York Mets had lost the lead to the Atlanta Braves, they had I think it was 11-game lead for the division, ended up choking it to Atlanta. But I was very curious when Atlanta took it. I was like, I want to see how the Mets are going to respond. Are they going to go, okay, cool, whatever, it is what it is, and just kind of roll over? Or are they going to fight back? And for me, that was going to determine for me whether or not I can take them serious. That was it, because they have the talent, right? They have the talent. But if you're not able to bounce back when you need to, that's a problem. Right. So, I mean, you got solid pitching like Chris Bassett. You got him. You got one of the best closers in all of baseball, if not the best. And at the bare minimum, he's pitching like it, Edwin Diaz, right? Clearly, you got Jacob deGrom and you got Max Scherzer, right? So clearly those guys don't need anything. Taijuan Walker is pitching great. 10-3, 3.36 ERA, which is very respectable, right? And now if you want to look at the with the bats, you got Sterling Marte is looking real good, right? Francisco Lindor is obviously Francisco Lindor, right? Having a very respectable year. Pete Alonso, right? Brett Beatty is having moments here and there where if you need him, he's occasionally have stepped up when they need him, especially in like pinch hit type of situations. They got the talent. For me, it really came down to when they lose a division lead, how are they going to react? And now they're leading the division. They basically took it and was like, we're good, we're chilling, we're vibing, we're going to get that lead back, and we're basically going to act as if this didn't happen. Because of that, I'm going to call them contenders. I know it's weird calling the Mets contenders. I'm trying to, I want to focus on what they're doing now. But I think it's fair to call them contenders. And the NL Central, the St. Louis Cardinals, this one is going to be interesting. So they have a very solid pitching staff. They got Adam Wainwright, 3.27 ERA, pretty solid. And their trade, they got Jordan Montgomery, which I thought that was a solid pickup, middle of the pack guy for them. 3.37 ERA. Believe it or not, Yadier Molina, even though offensively is defensively still holding it down. You got Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt. And then again, they got Albert Pujols DHing, which honestly, he's not that bad at the DH. He's batting about 250. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'm going to call the Cardinals contenders, but I'm going to call them dark horse contenders. I'm going to basically put them the same way that we put the Giants from last year, right? Where you look at it and you're like, they're a good team. They're a good team. So I'm going to call them contenders, but dark horse contenders. And the last one, the Dodgers, I don't even, top to bottom, the best roster in all of baseball. I'm not even going to go through the whole hoopla of trying to list off who they are. They're contenders. I don't even think that's even close. Final topic of the day. So the thing I want to start doing now, the Dummy of the Day award. Basically, people who are just dumb and need to take a L, I'm here to give it to you. For today's, with all due disrespect, the Dummy of the Day award goes to. I wish I had a drum roll thing. But there's only one guy you can. Well, I don't want to say guy. There's one group of people you need to give it to. Russell Westbrook fans. This is a situation that's been going on for a while. A situation that, unfortunately, people don't get. I've had people look me in my eye and tell me with a straight face that he's great. And when I ask them why, right, explain to me, tell me why you think he's great. Explain to me why. And they always go back to, oh, well, a few years ago he had an MVP. Okay? And a few years ago, I was a virgin. Okay? Stuff happened. I am no longer that same young child. Right? I get cheeks. So I'm no longer a virgin. Okay? I get cheeks. All right? Russ is bad now. Point blank. End of story. End of story. If I gave you his numbers without a name, you would say that this young kid has a lot of growing up to do. Spoiler alert, it's not a young kid. It's a veteran on his last legs. And I mean last legs in terms of quality of playing. I'm not going to give him a oh, well, he tried award. No. You either do or you don't. If you play horrible, you're playing horrible. Take that L, move on with your lives, and find some other clown to defend. Because I'm done wasting my time. Follow us on Twitter at Prideful Takes. If there's any news you guys want us to talk about, please feel free to tag us in it. Catch us on Facebook at Prideful Takes and also on YouTube at Prideful Takes. Visit our website, www.pridefultakes.com. Not only is every episode of the podcast up there, but we also have original articles. As always, go to fatco.com. Use discount code Prideful Takes. Get 15% off all your organic skin care needs. Check us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, the Prideful Takes podcast. Your boys on TikTok at PR_Pride22 for all the stuff that doesn't make it onto the show. I put it on there. On Facebook Gaming, Pride Gaming 22. I'll be live tonight at 10 with some Warzone. I hope to catch some of y'all there. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys spending some time with me. I will be back here on Friday to talk more shit about your favorite team. Until then, y'all know what to do. Be safe.
Knew where that was going. That was a great read. Oh, Lillard from the logo. That'll quiet the
2 on the season. 2nd and 1 for the Bills. They handle the rush. Allen looking. End zone.
To Shohei Ohtani. Center field. Let's watch it go.
Did several of those inside low kicks.